part of the advantage of being able to write a linear equation to represent a table situation is that you can start looking at more real life scenarios and actually take that and apply it to graphs and also linear equations that are given to you, and let you be able to do a little bit more data. So here we are. Bob's running a garage. First year in business makes $35,000. Third year in business makes $65,000. 8 years in business makes $140,000. Let's just do the same thing we've been doing and make this into an equation. First column is going to be x. Second column is going to be y. We're going to find 2 points on this to find the slope. So I'm going to choose the 2 smaller numbers here. 65,000 minus 35,000 is 30,000. So that's my y minus y. And then 3 minus 1 is 2. So my slope is going to be 15,000. And I'll put an m right here just that way I can remember that. And we'll come down a little bit lower and we'll plug it into the point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals slope parentheses x minus x1. And we can just plug in whatever values we need to. I'm going to use the smallest one, the 1 and 35,000 for my y1 and x1. My slope again is 15,000. We work that out. And my 1 is my x value. After distribution, you get 15,000x minus 15,000, and now we just have to add 35,000 to both sides. And we get a nice simple equation of y equals 15,000x plus 20,000. Okay, so this equation represents the number of years in business that Bob has worked and the amount of earnings that he has. So this x right here, because this x column is years in business, when we plug in a value that would be representing the number of years that he's been in business, and after you simplify this right side of the equation, it's going to give you how much he earned in that many years. So if we took this idea and then compared it to something else, for instance, if we said John was running a similar business and this is his equation, y equals 14,500x, and that shows how much he earns. X is going to represent the number of years in business, and y would be the total amount earned. And then we finish up with this final question of who made more money after 20 years in business. Well, if you were given a table for Bob and you were given an equation for John, what you could do is go get the equation for Bob, like we did here, and compare it to the one with John. And in fact, I can show you how you can go a little bit further to make it a little bit easier here. Let's put Bob's right over here. Let's put John's right here. Bob's was y equals 15,000x plus 20,000, and John's is the y equals 14,500x. So here's the two equations, and we can put them side by side to compare. And the question is, how much money would they make after 20 years? We'll stop and think for a second. Y is the total amount of money that they'll be making, and X is the number of years that they've been in business. So if I plug the 20 in for the X, I can figure out how much money they've both made. So Y equals 15,000 times 20 plus 20,000. And once I figure that out, I'll know exactly how much Bob's made after 20 years, and I can do the same with John's. Calculate that, and I'll know how much he made after 20 years, and then I can very easily answer this question about who made more money. And let's see here, pulling out the calculator right now. Bob is going to be making $320,000 after 20 years. And John is going to be less, obviously. It's only going to be making $290,000. And it really takes away all the guesswork that when you take enough time to understand what the equation is asking, you can then plug in a certain value for x and compare the two amounts, and then let that be there to help guide you to the answer to the question. So don't be too alarmed when it's asking you questions like this. Usually, most of the time, if you can go through and get it into an equation format, you can use parts of that equation to actually do that comparison for you, and it takes away a lot of the work.